First, my name is Peg Jensen, and I'm on the election committee for 2022. And I want to welcome everybody to Candidates Night. But before we start, I want to ask you to do one thing. Check your cell phones and be sure your cell phone is on vibrate. We are going to be live streaming this event. So we want to be careful about the noise because we want to try to capture this for the members that couldn't make it tonight. So welcome to Candidates Night. For those of us that have been around more than 5 years, this is one of the first times we've had Candidates Night in 7 years. The last time we had Candidates Night and an election was in 2015. That happens when we have more candidates than we have openings on the board. So currently we have 4 openings on the board, and behind me are the 10 candidates that have applied for the board of director positions. So number one, I want to thank all the candidates for applying. It's phenomenal to get this kind of presence. And I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. I would like to introduce the remaining members of our election committee. So if you will stand up as I call your name. First is Mindy Charlton. She's on the machine today. Second is Lori Deemer. She's in the back, but she's a mighty presence. Steve Karch in the back. And then Tom Lodge in the back by Deemer. And in the front, Cindy Swallow. I don't know if all of you remember getting an email from Jill, and one of her comments was, get involved. One of the first opportunities for getting involved was, are you interested in running and serving on the election committee for 2022? There were 6 of us that volunteered. We were extremely fortunate because of those 6. We had 3 members who were past board members, and that is Cindy Swallow, Tom Lodge, and Steve Karch. They provided us some incredible perspective and background on the board of director position and how we approach the elections. I want to go briefly and go through the agenda for Candidates Night. Each of our candidates is prepared to speak for 3 to 5 minutes, and they will tell you somewhat about their background and why they're running for the board. Each presentation is going to be videotaped, and the videotaping of the presentation is going to go on our website. So on the website, you're going to get the one-page bio that will show as they speak. You'll get the video of their presentation, and you'll get their application that they submitted for the board position. For the members that are attending, we have 3x5 note cards that we passed out, and you can use that to jot down notes on the various candidates and specifically write down questions that you'd like to ask of the various candidates. The bios that we will show on the screen above the floor will have those one-page bios of each candidate. Following the candidate presentations, which should take about an hour, we will have a question and answer session where the members, we would ask that you please write down your questions, and Tom and Cindy will manage the microphone, and Steve will determine who asks the questions in which order. And we will also cover briefly our member voting, which is our voting process and the various options we have for voting for our membership, as well as we'll cover the member voting timeline. So with that, I'm going to introduce our first candidate, and that is Dan Tennessen. Come on up, Dan.
Thank you, Peg. I understand I won the toss here, so I'm going to opt out to receive in the second half. A little bit about Dan Tennessen. Moved here in 1969. In between school and classes, I spent a lot of time on local golf courses. I loved the game. I did everything from running a night watering system to flipping burgers to picking up the driving range, and then moved on to what I thought was the next level, and that was an apprenticeship with PGA to be a club pro. at a local club here. Shortly after that, my beloved brother-in-law cornered me one day. He was in the grocery business. He says, nobody has to play golf. Everybody has to eat. So convinced me that $3.65 an hour at the local golf course didn't compare to $6.95 at the new distribution center for fries here in Phoenix. So I jumped on board with the grocery industry. They laughed at me. They said, what are you doing here? You come from the golf course and now you want to throw cases and pick orders? I said, no, I want to take myself to the next level. It was a brand new distribution center, 60,000 square feet in Phoenix for Fry's Food Stores, 29 stores. I went in, I unloaded boxcars, I cleaned restrooms, I pulled orders, I drove forklifts, and then I took it to the next level. The next level was management. I was a working foreman, I was a supervisor. I moved myself into a major distribution expansion. We went to 129 stores, 1.2 million square feet of distribution, 365 Teamsters that answered to me, and 35 management people. Took it to the next level. 32 years later, I decided, what's next? Maybe early retirement. We did a little bit of wine and coffee bar, and then we stepped into the next chapter. And the next chapter was, I was approached by the Arizona Food Marketing Alliance to head up their cart retrieval program. I said, cart retrieval, that sounds pretty simple. My wife, Diane, will tell you that she's tired of hearing me say, it's not rocket science, but it's not. I went into the cart retrieval service 12 years, almost 13 years ago now. We took the revenue up 500%. We not only retrieve shopping carts off the streets of Phoenix, but we repair them, we wash them, we sanitize them, and we power wash sidewalks and so on and so forth. It's been pretty much a dream of mine, again, to take it to the next level. I've been associated with the good part of the grocery industry, in all my years in the grocery industry, was I never lost the love for golf. Because if any of you know anything about the grocery industry, the golf is a big piece of it. You do a lot of your business out on the golf course, you do a lot of your business in events. So I've headed up events, I've done major charity events for Fry's, 12 years, 5 years of the last was the largest fundraiser in the nation for the March of Dimes. We had 388 players, and we had banquets of 800. Then we moved on to, in Fry's, before I left Fry's, was the Waste Management Open. We sponsored and ran the food court in the waste management for 5 years, almost 6 years. A lot of golf events, a lot of experience. Moved to Westbrook 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and love it here. It is truly the hidden gem of the West Valley and of the Valley. I think we've done a fantastic job, and those of you that have served in the last 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, what a job you've done. It is truly the hidden gem. Our membership now has jumped to another level. Our membership should support everything we want to do. We just need to run it like a business. We need to take it to the next level. There's things that I see that I want to talk about, that I want to explore out there on the golf courses, and that's who I am. The other thing that I was most excited about was that on this board and on these participants in this election, there's some very good management, business people that need to be part of this. And I want to be a part of that. That's who I am. Next level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming out tonight. Thanks everybody watching on live stream. I'm Leslie Brown, not to be confused with our other candidate, Leslie Friedman, and my friend over there. I see a few familiar faces out there. I see a lot of unfamiliar faces out there. And I think that's predominantly because I work full-time still, and I haven't got a chance to join our charter groups and meet all the new members and all of you out there. You'll only see me out on the course on the weekends. My husband and I moved to Westbrook 18 years ago and have been members of Westbrook Golf Club ever since. And it's really hard to believe it's been that long. I don't have a lot of experience with public speaking, and quite honestly, I'd rather be at home abstracting a lease or studying our bylaws and sipping some wine than standing up here today, but here I am. What I do have a lot of experience with is this club and with corporate real estate and corporate governance. My business experience is over 30 years with national restaurant and retail chains, excuse me, like Burger King, Circle K, Peter Piper, and I'm currently with Ewing Irrigation. I've negotiated countless commercial leases and other contracts. I've participated in closings, acquisitions, divestitures, refinancings. I've even supervised several corporate litigations. At Ewing, in addition to managing over 250 properties, I oversee our corporate compliance requirements in 28 states and manage our annual renewals of our insurance policies. I've worked closely over the years with dozens of attorneys in multiple disciplines, and I know when it's time to call one for help. My involvement with the club over the years includes, I created a club website about 10 years ago. Brandon's done a wonderful job bringing it forward for us, but it was quite an improvement at the time. I've served on the board communications committee for several years under 2 directors. I co-founded and helped organize the Westbrook Village Charity Challenge that energized both our membership and our community to raise over $100,000 in 3 years for the University of Arizona Cancer Center. That was really the most I'll keep going.
Mr. PA system.
Anyway.
Try that.
New one.
All right, try that one.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, the Westbrook Village Charity Challenge was the most rewarding, fun, and exhausting experience of my life. 18 months ago, I was appointed to the board of directors to fill a vacant seat and was put in charge of handling legal, bylaws, and insurance. Some of the things that I assisted the board with accomplishing in this time is like creating a new lease document for our restaurant operators to meet the current needs of our club, negotiating the extensions of our leases for our restaurant operators last year, recruiting a replacement operator and signing a lease for a new operator for our Lakes restaurant, Chef Peter, who will be opening in the next few weeks. I've spent multiple evenings and weekends studying our club's bylaws, our CC&Rs, and other agreements that govern the actions and obligations of our club. It's true, I really do enjoy doing that stuff. Why do I want your vote? The top of my list of things to accomplish if I'm elected is to lead a committee to update our bylaws to make them a more effective tool for the governance of our club. Our bylaws were originally written in the 90s, over 25 years ago. Pieces of them have been amended since then, mostly to try to modernize them, like allowing for our electronic voting. Some of the amendments, unfortunately, have created confusing and conflicting provisions in our bylaws that make it difficult for us to really understand their intent. So our bylaws need some work to reflect modern business practices and eliminate ambiguities. The other reason I want your vote is to continue my support for our successful strategic plan. Our leadership and our membership have created a very attractive niche in the West Valley, as evidenced by the strong growth in our membership and our 2 exceptional courses. No doubt there's challenges ahead of us that threaten that success, like aging facilities, inflation, water restrictions, just to name a few. I would like to be a part of the team that tackles those challenges and make sure that we keep 2 beautiful courses in this exceptional community for many years to come. Thank you, and thank you, Election Committee.
Good evening. My name's Brad Croak, and I'd like to thank everybody for the support they're showing tonight and the viewers at home. I've been a member of Westbrook for 3 years now, and I've been a member of private golf clubs for the last 40 years, over 6 of them. I came up through the ranks in the grocery business as well. I started the first non-union refrigeration company in Southern California, one of the largest, where we did work for Albertsons, Safeway, Price Club. We not only built them, but we serviced them. And what I mean by that is that where you guys buy your frozen food, your meat, all your perishable groceries, that's what we did. From there, I retired and went to the Northwest, started another company where I did work for Fred Meyer's, Albertsons, Costco's, Safeway. Fred Meyer's up there is owned by Kroger, which is Fry's here. After I got done with that company, I retired again, and I went to work. I was asked to consult for Emerson Corporation. Emerson was worldwide. They asked me to come in and do work for Safeway across the United States. And what I did for them is I went in and I made sure that their refrigeration racks ran efficiently, but more importantly, we saved them money by energy efficiency. And we could show that payback in the grocery business at a month at a time. So when we went in there and made changes, the stores on an individual level saw the savings within the next 60 days of what we did. So I would believe that I would be an asset to the club from the standpoint of my business standpoint of running companies and how I managed them and what I've accomplished. After I got done with that, I retired again, and I came back and I just finished doing every store in Arizona, Albertsons and Safeway, for the EPA for refrigerant tracking. I just can't seem to get out of the grocery business. It's been good to me for all these years, and I've been fortunate. I've been on 2 golf course committees, one at Chaparral Pines in Payson, Arizona, and the other one at the Rim. Both were different being on the committees because we worked for developers, and the developers had different ways of looking at things. But I spent 2 years at the Rim and 2 years at Chap. Before the Rim changed hands, I was asked to be on the finance committee because during the downturn of golf, all golf courses were in trouble, and so were we, and it was tough. I think that was one of the toughest things I'd done on a committee, was have to suggest some of the choices that we had to make to try to keep the club open. One, we had to close the restaurants. That didn't make anybody happy. We had to close hours of play. I had to take the head professional, and it was me personally that had to give him a $30,000 a year cut in pay. He was a friend. That was tough to do. And finally, we had to tell the board that we couldn't afford the club, and that we had to give the club to Steve Loy and to Phil Mickelson. So I believe that I've got the experience to help this board. I believe that the board that we've had has done a great job. We wouldn't be here if the board hasn't been successful. But I also believe we need some changes. And changes what's going to be good for this club. And some of those changes are, I'd like to see our staff be more user-friendly when they're out with us, the members. I'd like to see the 18-hole ladies, the 9-hole ladies, where they're playing with a head professional, okay? We need the support of our pro staff. And I just believe that if I'm elected to the board, that I'm looking at making a better tomorrow for this club than it is today, and we already have a good club. And I also want to thank the existing board for what they've done, because it's a lot of hard work. It's not a hobby to them. This is a multi-million-dollar business that needs business decisions made every day that we don't see as members. We see it as an enjoyment and a hobby. And this is a business, and it's a big decision. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robin Krapfl, and first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the election committee. I know they put in a tremendous amount of time and effort to put on this candidates night and prepare for the election, so they're due a big round of applause for all their efforts. My background's a little bit different than everyone else up here so far, but I've been around golf for over 40 years. I was a PGA golf professional, where I gave lessons and I ran tournaments and I ordered clothes and learned that side of the business. And then I became the head women's golf coach at the University of Nebraska, where when I first started, we had to raise a lot of money, just so that we could get uniforms and clothes. It wasn't like it is now, but so I started one of the first booster clubs at the University of Nebraska for sports, for a sport outside of football and basketball. And by the time, we were done, we had one of the, other than football and basketball, we had the largest support group and raised the most money for any sport in the athletic department. So, I've put on a lot of golf tournaments as the head golf coach. My favorite one, obviously, was coming down here, and that's how I found this place. I brought my team down to Westbrook Village to compete, and when my husband got ready to retire, he was talking about places we should go, and I said, you really need to come look at Westbrook. I think you'd really like it. And he goes, oh, it's so far away. Let's just go, to Arkansas or someplace close. So I go, no, you need to look at Westbrook. The people are just amazing. And so he came, and before he left that first year, he's ready to buy a place. I mean, he just loved it, and it's because of the people and the golf staff and all the people associated with Westbrook Village. The reason I would like to be elected to the board is that I think I bring a voice, not only for the women of Westbrook, because I play a lot of golf with a variety of level players from, the low handicappers all the way up to the high handicappers. And I think I have a good relationship with all of them, and I can be a voice for them onto the board to offer suggestions and pass their concerns on to the board, and hopefully, we can make this club, even better than it really is. So basically that's it, but thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gene Price, and I'm glad to be here this evening. My wife and I, Joanne, have been residents since 2010. I've been a member, we've been members of the golf course since 2014, and we're in the 18-hole on Friday's group. I've always been needed to keep busy and enjoy jobs and finishing them, the ones that I start. My background varies quite a bit. I've been on a town board back in my town. I've owned a laundromat, which I ended up selling. I've been in the flooring installation business for 40 years with employees. I was a volunteer for our rescue squad for 24 years and chief for 21 years, which I managed approximately 25 people, and also an EMT. I was a deputy sheriff for McHenry County until I was drafted to Vietnam, where I was an MP. I have served on an HOA board in Vista Fairways for the past 10 years, and I've been involved in painting projects, lanai, rebuilding, etc., and I've been president for 3 years. I enjoy golf. Basically, I play 7 days a week, and everybody knows that. I interact with the members and staff frequently because I enjoy them. I have reviewed the goals for the 2022 status goals, and I participate in their success. I would appreciate your vote, and at the end, I like Peg and Mindy for helping me along with this. So thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jim Van Dyke. My wife and I have been residents here in Westbrook Village for the last 8 years. We've had a home. This will be our 6th year full-time being here. I also have a lot of thanks for the committee for putting this together, for the board members for all their activity, for the staff. We have an incredibly welcoming and friendly staff. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, members, I love our staff here. I have kind of a diverse background. After college, Julie and I met her senior year of college, and we went into business. We moved to Palm Springs, California, a golf community, lived on a golf course, went to work for Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor there, and then also became the muni bond coordinator for Southern California, which basically I would help financial advisors put together bond portfolios for high-end clients. So diverse background. All that time I thought I should be in ministry, so went back to school, then ended up going to seminary, became a pastor, giving up the financial background, where Julie and I served for 30 years as ministers. Our job when we were hired by the denomination was to go in and take existing churches that were going through a difficult time or had gone through significant hardships and rebuild them, get them healthy again, get them restaffed, get them working well again, and then go on and do it again. So we were basically the restarters to go in and fix things that were broken. And in doing that, I became divisional superintendent for Northern Colorado, then became district supervisor for all of the Rocky Mountain District, then was elected to the board of directors for the denomination, which I served for 30 years. Of 147,000 churches in 150 different countries. So that was kind of the background there. After 30 years of that, we thought we're kind of ready to go on. I did ministry training. I was hired by Every Home for Christ to be their Caribbean leader, to train all the islands there how to mobilize. So worked with a lot of college students, worked with a lot of pastors how to train their congregations. So worked primarily helping people, training people, and working with volunteers. The reason I'd like to serve on the Westbrook board is I love working with volunteers. Being a pastor for 30 years, you primarily work not only with staff and building staffs, but if you don't work with volunteers, you're going to die really quick. And so I really see that need being here. I was on the committee for the Greens and Grounds for a short time. Felt like it could just be different. Working with so many volunteers, we really thought, gosh, we can get a lot more people involved, like Bob Youngblood, who has a whole community of people here where they take care of every hole, where people don't fix their divots, they don't repair their ball marks, and he has people that have adopted a hole. Maybe some of you serve on that. We've served on that for a couple of years, and fixing things. And that's the type of thing that I think really ties the community together. If you have a piece of it, being a volunteer and helping serve, you take ownership. Not just being a member, but being a volunteer and helping an area, it helps you take ownership and really appreciate the club more. And so would love to be part of that, love to help with that. When we retired 5 years ago, we started real estate full-time. We couldn't just stay inactive. And the primary target, our whole area, is here in Westbrook Village. So we buy and sell properties extensively, have lots of clients that are here in Westbrook and love serving here and being part of the community. So we'd love to serve. We love the golf community, Julie and I, and looking forward to helping serve in any way we can. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Casmus. For those of you that don't know me, I have some prepared remarks because my wife will not allow me to speak extemporaneously anymore. As you can see behind me, I'm a retired soldier who spent my post-Army days first in the aerospace and defense business in logistics, program management, and business development. After I retired a second time from the Raytheon Company, I then became an independent business consultant helping Ability One companies win and manage government contracts. I too have served on a board of a country club in El Paso, Texas, and I have a little bit of experience on how that management and work goes. It was much like this board. There was no general manager. Every board member had a specific responsibility. And to that end, I want to offer my congratulations and thanks to all the current and previous board members. Westbrook Village is at a good place because of their hard work. Now, if I were sitting where you are, trying to measure up the 10 great candidates, here's what are the top 3 criteria I would be looking for. Number 1, is the candidate dedicated to keeping the Westbrook Village Golf Club a great place to play golf, socialize with my friends and fellow golfers? Well, the dedication criteria probably isn't much of a discriminator. All of these folks meet that one. However, my goal isn't to make you a happy Westbrook Village Golf Club member. I want you to be a delighted Westbrook Village Golf member, and I want you to approach October 22nd to renew your membership with glee. I really want to focus on your entire golf experience at Westbrook Village. From the moment you arrive at the golf course, to how you find the range and practice areas, what are the playing conditions out on the course, and the experience you have if you hang around the restaurant after you finish your round. The second criteria I would have is that board members must have business savvy. Frankly, in my humble opinion, the status quo won't continue to work. Our current president, Joe Riedel, has rightfully pointed out often that Westbrook Village is a $4 million plus enterprise. The pandemic and the increased cost for goods and services have created a new normal for all of us with our personal finances, and that also carries over into the Westbrook Village Golf Club. What does that mean? A, there's always going to be a higher cost of doing business. It's inevitable. And nothing is going to go down in price. And that means B, we must be open to new ways of thinking, acting, developing funding streams, and conducting near and long-term operations. The key to our future success has to be focused on ensuring the courses are in the best playing conditions possible, all year round, and that a smart strategic plan is in place. I'm not saying the current strategic plan is not the right plan. What I'm saying is we need to review it, we need to update it, we need to reprioritize it if it's necessary, and ensure it's properly funded. I learned in the Army and I learned in the business world, you can have a plan, but if you don't have the funding behind it, all you really have is a daydream. If something is important, it needs to be properly funded. If it doesn't add value or tangible value to the Westbrook Village Golf Club and the members, then that idea has got to go on a desired but unfunded list until all the important things are accomplished. Third and last, board members should be energetic, visible, and approachable. I believe board members that you vote for should be servant leaders with their sole interest being to make Westbrook Village Golf Club better and to set the conditions for the employees to be successful and accountable. Now, I've always had a bias for action and been a teammate who fills voids. Getting involved and helping to make a difference is kind of in my DNA, and that's why I'm running for the board of directors. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my insights that I think are important and for our Westbrook Village Golf Club going forward. If elected to the board, I pledge to do the hard right and never kick the can down the road on a tough decision. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Carroll, and we moved to Westbrook 2 years ago. And I'm from Ireland. Never know by the accent, I suppose. But in Dublin, golf has been part of my life since I can remember. I was lucky enough as a kid to grow up beside a golf course in Dublin and learn the game from there. And when I got out of school, I wanted to see the world. I've been lucky enough to travel the world and work in many countries around the world. I met my wife in Australia, in Melbourne. She's from Boston, so I had to go all the way to Boston to meet a nice American girl. I worked for Bechtel in hydroelectric schemes in New South Wales. I worked in South Africa. I worked in West Africa, New Zealand, Singapore, the UK. I finished my career in Boston working for the Gillette Company. I was a team leader, also manager, supervisor of the facilities department. And I introduced an apprenticeship program, which is not a thing that a lot of big companies embrace. And it's still running today, that apprenticeship program. In one of the great moments of my career was being part of a team that developed the Mach 3 razor for men's and ladies. It was made in the United States. It was made in Germany, the UK, and Ireland. And I had the great pleasure of being part of that team, traveling to all these countries and working with different engineers. You learn so much when you work with talented people that are on the same page as you are. Teamwork is one of the things that I admire best. When I retired from Gillette, I have always been a musician. My mother was a musician, my dad was a musician, and so I run golf and music trips to Ireland and Scotland every year. Golf has always been there with me. I've met some amazing people in my life through the game of golf. What I will bring to and like to bring to the board here, if I'm elected, is a skill set that I think can help this club. I've been a lean practitioner, which means introducing a lean system. Most corporations, Toyota developed it. It's a development system that makes you run smarter. I was a leader of that team and also the practitioner of it. I taught it, and also the apprenticeship program, training young people to go into trades. Not every young person can go to college. From there, I play here music in the Valley and dementia centres. My mom passed from dementia, and I donate my time to do that. Music is very important in Alzheimer's and dementia. 6 years ago, I lost my daughter, Melissa, to cancer. She was an artist living in New York. After she passed, I wanted to, having been around cancer for 3 years, the last 3 years of her life, I started a foundation in her name, the Melissa Carroll Foundation. It's online, and we give out scholarships to cancer survivors, unfortunately mostly young women with different types of breast cancer. So we pay their fares. We took them 2 years ago to Cape Town, South Africa. We take them to Peru, to Ireland, and we run golf tournaments to raise money. And hopefully I don't have to do it, because I'd like to see all types of cancer disappear. The foundation has been running now for 5 years, and we've raised over nearly $200,000. I perform music for it. I run golf tournaments in Ireland to raise money for it. And what we do is we send them away for 2 weeks. We usually give out 2 scholarships worth $10,000 just to get them away from infusion and all that goes with the horrors of treatment. If elected, I would bring a skill set that I've been in management for a lot of years. I've worked with great companies throughout the world, and I think I have something to offer. Westbrook is a wonderful golf club, and I'm glad to be so part of this great. The staff are amazing in this golf club. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Friedman, as you can see. It's nice to see your smiling faces. I figured by now, given that it's 6:45, most of you would be kind of dozing, but you seem to be paying attention, so thanks a lot. I've spent 25 plus years working at a community college, interfacing with the faculty, the staff, the administrators, and a lot of students. My strengths are strong organizational skills, a positive attitude, extensive customer service experience, flexibility, and the skills and the willingness to either meet the goals or exceed them. For my involvement with Westbrook Village Golf Club, I was the co-president with my late husband of the 18-hole couples, and I've been the treasurer, the vice president, and the president of the 18-hole ladies organization. Why I want your vote. Westbrook Village Golf Club is a customer service organization, and I am a very people-oriented person. I believe the board's job is to enable our club to provide the membership with the best possible golfing experience and to be an asset to the community as a whole. We have a phenomenal staff of golf professionals in our pro shops. They are welcoming, knowledgeable people who are responsible for the day-to-day operations of our golf courses. They're the front line, the face of Westbrook Village Golf Club. I've actually enjoyed getting to know them a little bit better through Brandon's YouTube Christmas interviews. I hope you've enjoyed them as well. Our behind-the-scenes people, led by our outstanding superintendent, David Escobedo, work tirelessly to maintain the condition of our 2 beautiful golf courses. The board of directors must do all it can to provide this staff with the products and the equipment they need to meet the challenges of Arizona's extreme summers, our diminishing water resources, and the growing scarcity of supplies, all within the scope of our fiduciary responsibilities. We have some difficult challenges ahead of us in terms of the climate changes and the restrictions on water and the rising cost of grass seed and associated products. We learned recently that growers are focusing their efforts on products that are in demand year-round, rather than on things like rye seed, which is a seasonal product. This could result in a shortage of available seed, even at inflated prices. It's vital that we educate ourselves on these subjects and explore a full range of options so we're ahead of the curve when these restrictions are imposed. It's no longer a case of if, it's a case of when. I've been a member of the HOA Facilities and Landscape Committee for over 10 years. The HOA faces the same challenges as the golf club. On the advice of our landscape company, we doubled our budget for seed this season, and we were still unable to overseed all of our common areas. We discuss water issues at every single one of our meetings. This would give me the opportunity to stay current on these issues and share that information with the golf club as to what's being done regarding water at the city level and the state and the county as well. And of course, there are our members, our customers, who are the reason that we're all here. Our mission is to provide these people with the best possible golf experience right here in their own backyard. I think it's vital that we continue the board's recent trend of communicating openly with our members regarding the challenges that we're facing, our plans for dealing with them, and if necessary,
the need for increasing our revenue to meet these challenges. I think an informed membership is a partner in the success of the Westbrook Village Golf Club. Thank you for listening and hopefully for your votes.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening to everybody talk here tonight. I've been a member of Westbrook Village for 10 years. My name's Scott Oracheff. I'm running because I think this club is one of the best values in the Valley. After I graduated from Purdue University, I worked on the floor of the Commodity Exchange as a gold trader. After I did that for about 15 years, I decided that I'd take a new route, and I came to a football game in Arizona, the Super Bowl, and said this is the best weather, and I got to play Westbrook Village and decided to buy an aerospace company, which I did, and we do nothing but certify airplanes on behalf of the FAA. We go through budgets, programs, and we work very tight with a very strict list of rules, which are our CFRs. We need this club, the 700 new members, to see the more transparency. We need to operate, we're operating in a negative cash flow right now, and we're faced with some serious issues of inflation. We're all gonna face it next year when the dues come up, so we need to work out, we need to get the revenues higher by getting the other HOAs to get their water rights brought in. We need to raise money through tournaments, other things like that, but we're going to face a difficult time. We all need to be aware of it. Everybody running up here has a good background. I'm sure they're all capable, but why I want your vote is I've worked programs hard. They're going to be hard decisions to be made, and I'm not afraid to make them. And I'm glad I'm not the youngest member here. Jib, you now have that honor. Thanks, everybody. I know everybody wants to get home. Thanks for coming.
Pretty impressive, don't you think? Can you all help thank all the candidates for their preparation? The one thing that really is exciting as a member, and I've been here 10 years now, is it's so great to see so many members step up and apply for these board positions. We have never had this many candidates in my 10 years, and I'm not certain if we've had it prior to that. So thank you again, you guys, every one of you. Our next section in the presentation is now going to turn over to the members. And we are going to do a Q&A session. So Steve Karch is going to determine the order of the questions from the audience. So Steve's in the back. And then the two people handling the microphones will be Cindy and Tom. And they will determine, they will pass the microphone on to each member. Okay?
Jan, will the questions be directed individually?
Yes. The questions will be directed to individual candidates. Okay? Any questions?
The cards were passed out earlier. If you have those, would you please pass them to the center aisle here, and we'll collect those and make sure that everyone gets a chance.
Now, I have a general question. I'm not sure I can ask it of one individual. I'll try. If we're at full membership, which is great news, it's also bad news because we really can't grow the club with more members. So what are the action plans for growing the club financially in the future? I guess, Dan, you talked about growth and membership increasing and momentum. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, really, truly, at the end of the day, it's not you can read all about me in my bio and what I've done and where I've gone, but it's the next level. We have to open ourselves up to new ideas And we have to talk about it as a board. We have to talk about everything. Every line on the budget needs to be talked about. My experience with major golf clubs in this state since 1969 is a plus here. I don't want to change to this. I don't want to bring these people in, another third party. I want to talk about what we need to do here. And I think we need to reach out to those clubs, the Greyhawks. I know them well. The Weekopaws, the Quinteros, these successful clubs that don't necessarily have a membership but are so successful. We need to reach out to them. We need to talk to those people about what they do, how they do it, and bring in the ideas. That's my goal, is to bring in the ideas and take it to the next level.
Can I add to that? Can I, you know? I think we just have the microphone. It'll be easier. Your question is really a great one. When you talk about our membership, and you know, we're now at peaked out, not all memberships are equal. Remember, we have annual memberships, semi-annual memberships, weekend memberships, 2-month membership, 3-month memberships. The club is in a good place by the sheer number of members. We now have an opportunity to kind of take those not so costly memberships that don't bring in the big revenue stream that a 6-month or a 1-year membership does, because now we have the leverage of, well, we have a waiting list. So I think one of the things we have to be prepared to do is relook how we structure the memberships, and maybe the answer is to curtail some of those lower end memberships that we needed in the past because we didn't have full members. That's just one idea. And then there's the other ideas of and Scott mentioned it and some other folks mentioned it, you know, we have to look for other revenue streams, whether that be selling more water rights to the HOA or looking for opportunities to have the HOA assist the club. You know, we have 2 restaurants, and guess who's responsible for them? The Westbrook Village Golf Club. Guess who uses them? Any member, anyone who lives in Westbrook Village or wants to drive on to Westbrook Village. Well, there's a way for the HOA to perhaps help us by assessing every member on their HOA annual fee of $50. Think what $50 per household over 5 years would be on a 5-year plan. You'd have almost $500,000 in 2 years to renovate the restaurant that needed the most help. Then you could collect money for 2 years, renovate the other restaurant, and then in the 5th year you could go back and fix the things that you didn't quite do right in the first 2 repairs. So there's ways to go out there, but you have to be innovative, you have to be thinking, and you have to be willing to take those kinds of chances and risks. Thank you. Anybody else?
Just to add to that, many of the golf clubs I've been part of generate extra income and capital. Now we're unique here in Westbrook because the members own the club, basically, which is great. It's unique. Not a lot of golf clubs are like that. But a lot of clubs, they hold weddings, they hold tournaments, and they generate a ton of money through those. So I'm just mentioning those 2. I know it would have to be, of course, but you have to think outside the box if you want to generate extra capital in a golf club. Anybody want to add?
I'll add one thing to that. You know, those beautiful fountains we have out there, the HOAs participate in all the beauty, all the common lands, all that. They don't pay a nickel for electricity or the water or the maintenance on those. I know it's going to be hard to bring the HOAs in, but they need to participate. Their houses are increased in value because of the golf course. That's the main reason. We have to get them instilled in supporting the club.
Hi. I think everybody has said is true. We need to think outside the box. We need to look at different ways to generate money for the club. And I really like when the tiers of golf memberships. It would really be nice to have a 1-year membership. But what I want to say about the restaurants, since we're a member-owned club, and I've come from a member-owned club, be careful what you wish for. When you own a restaurant, you own all the things that go through it. And from what I have been told from Jill, is that each restaurant pays Westbrook a certain amount of money a month. Westbrook is not responsible for anything else, okay? That management or who's the new company that just come out?
Chef Peter.
Chef Peter, he's responsible for his employees, for all his overhead. He just pays a stipend to the club. That is probably one of the smartest business things this club could do. They're making $4,000 a month, and they don't have any headaches. They don't have to worry about anything else. This is a golf club. If you want to make it a private country club, okay, where we have weddings, which I think is great, you become into a different entity that you better be careful what you wish for.
Back to some clarification early on. Comments were made about the HOA, the large HOA making more contributions to the golf club. I think Leslie can confirm this. The issue has been since day one what's written in the deed. The HOA cannot pay for anything that they do not own or have a part ownership in. So if we can lean in that direction to somehow work out mutual ownerships of various facilities or entities or activities, that may be a way to open that door. But the way their documents read today, the way the deeds read, they cannot spend a penny on something they don't own 100%. But that's things of thinking outside the box and making it happen, but that's the current situation that people need to understand. Do we have more comments from up there? I've got a few questions that have been submitted.
I think it.
Jim, excuse me.
I think that's a key question, though, is finding out what the club really wants. Having just had my last daughter get married a few months ago in Indian Wells, California, we went to a golf community, a hotel, and we paid them, well, more than I want to say, to have a wedding. But it's what the club wants to do, because you can go down that road, just like Trilogy. And if you're a member of Trilogy, they have what they call brownout days, where there's a day a week you can't play because it's outside play, or it's a different tournament. So they're generating revenue by using different outside revenue streams, as you were pointing out. But that's where you need a strong board trying to figure out, what do the members want? Do we want to go down that road where there's a half a day a week having two courses over Trilogy? You have an advantage, but you have to decide, what does the club going to want? Do they want the members to be able to play, or are we concerned about how much revenue is coming in where you dilute your playing time and what you can do? So there's different ways to look at this.
Okay, we had a question from the floor. This one's for Brad. Anyway, this is for Brad Croak. What exact changes would be made to our pro staff? Is support not now available? And do they have time to play with different groups? They seem to be busy as they are today.
Well, I think one of the changes that the members need to realize is that we see these pros, they're behind plexiglass, they're in the office, they're not with the members. And I believe that when the staff is with the members, I think things change. I think it's an embarrassment to have our greens look the way they do when it is the members that do it. I've been along to other clubs where the starter has been the head pro, the director of golf. And I just feel that the board in their budget should look at how do we get some of these staff members out with the members. Because with their support, our etiquette will change. We've got a great staff, but the way they're treated and the way I think they're respected at times isn't what we really should be doing. And when you play with them and you see them around on the golf course, on the driving range, I think it makes a difference of how you do things on our course.
Okay, there's a question. Jill Riddell was not able to attend this evening, but she left a few questions for us to ponder. The first one is, let me read. Today, the current board is facing a here and now issue with no perfect answer. It involves the continued use of solo carts. As you are each aware, the board agreed to continue this option until further notice. That means we are facing the second year of increased rounds of play with increased number of carts, and our courses are already showing the compaction damage. Left unattended, we can face possible long-term damage and increased costs to keep the quality we have so enjoyed over the years. I think to shorten that question a little bit is, well, I'll just leave it as it is. The board give the candidates the first opportunity to respond to that, and then we'll take some questions from the audience if you have any questions related to that.
Well, this certainly isn't a tough answer. This is tough because we're going to upset 95% of the membership. I'm sure David Esposito has come to the board and tell him this is the problem, so we need to listen to David. It's the board's responsibility to act. And one of the things the members need to do is we need to take responsibility for our own club. And I know you're not going to like this, but what I would want to see done is affect everybody, both courses, every other hole, is you have to walk. You know, we take turns every day to make sure that our course will be in the playing condition that we need it to be in next week and next month. The wrong answer, the wrong decision for us to make is to do nothing. And the second wrong answer is to say, well, David's staff, well, he should do a better job. No, it's not David's staff or David's responsibility to treat this golf course the way it needs to be treated. We should be thankful that we have all these members that are, on their spare time, are replacing our divots, fixing our divots. I'm embarrassed by that. Embarrassed.
Well, let's get away from the issue just a moment. At the moment, what we're talking about here is solo cart riding and the impact it has. Yes, the divot repair is important, but I think what we're trying to get here is feedback from the candidates and from the audience of where we go with the solo carts. We've done that for years. The last 2 years due to COVID, we've allowed people to run helter-skelter all over the golf course. There's been very little attention given to where you drive, when you drive, what puddle you go through, whose backyard you drive through, whatever. And so somehow that needs to be tightened up. If we don't tighten it up, we're going to lose two things. One, people are not going to be able to walk. That's a given for the most part. And on the other hand, we need to deal with this compaction issue. So. Well, that's my second question.
Just to add to that, obviously.
Okay, maybe Jim reminded me that one of the other questions then is, do we extend if we're the cart path only days, so that 2 or 3 or 4 days a week it's cart path only, not necessarily the walking. So
I didn't mean walking, I meant the cart path only, that's what I really meant.
Right. I think some people back here understood you to say walking.
So yes, we have had 2 years of excessive cart usage on our courses because of COVID. We're not going to get away from that anytime soon. Everybody knows that COVID is still with us, and we have no idea how long it's going to last. But we do have to reduce cart usage somehow and still allow people to ride solo, those people that are concerned about their health. So one of the options that's been proposed is closing the courses 1 day a week to cart path traffic, making them cart path only. Some of the other courses in the area have instituted rules that say any third or fourth cart in a foursome is restricted to cart path only. That would have the least impact on the fewest number of our members rather than closing the courses completely for 1 or 2 days a week to cart path only. Those are a couple of the options.
Any other comments from the candidates? Any questions from your group members? Here. I'm sorry, Dan. Steve. Have at it. I'm sorry.
So, control. I've seen many of the most beautiful golf courses in Arizona encouraged, even through the 2 years of COVID, to drive your cart onto the fairway, stay on the fairway, don't park in the rough, don't drive in the rough, because that's where your compaction comes, and you know how difficult it is to hit a golf ball out of that. But we need enforcement. We need a board that will enforce the rules. We sit in our backyard, we work from our home, we look out the back window, and we watch the members, and sorry guys, but it's mostly the men that when they get on 13, they immediately jump on the fairway and they drive all the way down the fairway, and then they get in the rough and they do circles in the rough. We need enforcement. We need enforcement from the staff, along with getting the staff out on the golf course, not spending 4 hours to play with the group, but just take a round, go backwards, check with the groups, talk with the groups, encourage them to follow the rules, encourage them to follow the 90-degree rule. You can have as many carts out there as you want. You follow the 90-degree rule and you follow the maintenance that can be done to those fairways. I've not seen an aerification yet this year. The fairways get harder and harder and harder. We've got equipment. There's equipment available to do that. But our board, our staff, and our membership, you the membership, need to be out there encouraging people to follow the rules. And I played just this last weekend, and it was, you need to go a little bit further up the cart path before you jump out there. And they say, well, I only got to go up 40, I only hit it 40 yards, so I got to go up 40. Yes, I understand that. But we watch them day in and day out. It's abuse, and our membership has gotten away with that luxury. We need to fix it. The board, the staff, and the membership needs to encourage people to follow the rules.
One more comment.
We pay the PGA to come in here, and they've recommended that we time our fairways. We don't do that. We do it one time a year when the overseed comes. The greens, when you hit them, the ball bounces off. We don't see any aerification on the greens or on the fairways. What Dan said, we play Quintero. We can stay out of the roughs. We have to drive 90-degree rules and back and forth. It's enforcement, and we need ropes, and we need to cater off the areas we don't use. But we've got to aerate these fairways. We have 3 reports, and I don't think they've acted on it yet.
Okay, sorry that I interrupted up there. Okay,
There's a
back to
question.
fun
Steve,
games.
Steve, there's a question behind you.
Steve's got the question.
Oh, excuse me.
He's got
Kathy, what? I've got your card. You want that? Your question? Let's take these first. There was a question, there was a comment made by someone on one of the candidates about the club was in a negative cash flow position. Do you recall which one of you mentioned that? Can you give us a little bit of your rationale or what would support that comment?
If you read the current financial statement, you can see over the last year, we've spent $700,000. We've used the PPP loan. We've used all our lines of credit. We have no savings is what the financials say. We have $19,000 left. We have spent over $400,000 in equipment this year, over budget salaries for employees, which we have 32 employees working with Escobedo. Some of the courses I've looked at, they run courses with 6 guys, of course. We have bought 3 backhoes. I don't know how, even some of these pieces of equipment we bought, lawnmowers, big wide ones. Why would we buy 2 when we could buy 1 and drive it to both courses? We've spent at least $400,000 of equipment. Bunker rates that I see them pushing around Zero Escape out there with. A bunker rate just rips the lining out of bunkers. Why did we buy 2 of them?
I don't think there's any rakes in the bunkers today, are there?
No, but every course is improvement. I'm talking about the machines to drive in them. We don't do that.
All right, I'd let Kurt respond to that, but I'll chip in with a couple comments up front. I lost my train of thought.
No, this is for the candidates.
Okay, the point I'm going to make.
What about, why did we have outside people come in and fix the tee box on 4 when we did a beautiful job, the course did a beautiful job on 8 at this, setting up that 1. You know, it's not quite level anyway, but we paid $40,000 to an outside company to do that.
I didn't see that project.
Say.
Okay, a couple things. One, from a cash flow perspective, the dues that are collected on an annual basis are only put back into the financial statement, show as a revenue on a monthly basis. In other words, if you paid $12,000 a year for, let's make it reasonable, $6,000 a year on your dues, only 1/12 of that shows up on the financial statement each month. In other words, we don't dump all of the revenue in the 1st of October. That's one reason that there may be some, what may look like on a financial statement, some cash flow issues. The other item I was going to mention is a lot of the equipment has been deferred for years. And Terry Weiss, when he was on the board, and David developed a long-range plan for equipment replacement, and a lot of that equipment has been deferred year after year after year, and the maintenance cost of maintaining the old equipment costs you more than buying the new equipment in many cases. So we need to be cost conscious in that respect, and make sure that we're not putting more money into old equipment that's going to continue to cost us money to maintain versus buying something that's under warranty and we've got some support and that type of thing. Kurt, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you're right about the accrual-based accounting. The cash flow will go positive by the end.
Yeah.
It's just the way the accounting.
But that's something as you become more familiar with all the candidates, as you become more familiar with the financial statements, the discussions in the board meetings, the contractual negotiations and things like that, they'll be more meaningful to you. Okay, the next question was, will Chef Peter prepare a variety of menu items in the future as opposed to what he's provided in the past? I don't know that any of the candidates have seen that. Maybe Leslie might be able to.
So,
This will be Chef Peter's restaurant this time. He won't be operating at a kitchen for another operator. The proposed menu that we have seen is very eclectic, with quite a number of choices that I think will appeal to most everybody in the club.
Okay, the last question I have from the members that was submitted here is, if you close out some of the various membership categories, what will we be losing? The various categories allowed members to become acquainted with the club, the 1, 2, 3 month, or the part-time renters, if you will, that were pre-retirement, if you will, who bought homes down here and maybe came down and played golf 2 or 3 months. Now they've planned on retiring and being full-time members. But so what would be, I don't know who asked that question or who discussed the different memberships, but that has some impacts both ways.
You know, the less you know about something, the easier it is. Okay, so I don't know a lot about membership, but I do know in some of the discussions that I've had with David, who does just a tremendous job, we have various categories of membership. As we develop the waiting list, we have folks who want to be full-time members. They want to pay the full cost. So I don't know that you just want to tell somebody who's a 1 or 2 month member, I'm sorry you're out, but I think over time, it's to the Westbrook Village Golf Club's advantage to have not a lot of options, but to tighten that shot group so we maximize those dollars to make sure the course and everything that goes along with running this wonderful operation has the funds to do that. Having an opportunity for someone to join the month on a trying to join the club on a trial basis for 1 month, you know, I'm sure David has lots of options available to him that he can accommodate that. But you know, I don't know too many country clubs that say, yeah, you can have a monthly membership. You know, you're either a member or you're not. I mean, I don't know that that's the right answer. Like I said, the less you know about things, the easier they are. But in my simple mind, you know, the shot group gets tightened when you can just have 6 month and 1 year members. And the 1 month and the 2 month guys maybe just ought to come a little bit longer. I don't know if that's the right answer or not. But I think the good news is we have a waiting list, you know, and it allows us, like I said, to tighten up how we want to run membership. Maybe we don't want to change it. I don't know. But I'm just saying those are options that present themselves now that we're not begging people to become a member and trying to entice them with good deals. Look, you can price yourself right into a downward spiral of nothing. And there are plenty of clubs in Arizona and plenty of clubs across the nation who tried that, and we have neighboring clubs who put themselves in that death spiral of, and now they're no longer really viable clubs. And I don't ever want to see Westbrook Village do that. I think we need to be on target and know exactly what the forecasts are and how we're going to work that. Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Any other questions from the members here? Bob. Herb?
Hi, guys. Know most of you. I've got a real quick question for each and every one of you, and just a short answer. You've been granted carte blanche to get one thing accomplished without having to run through the board. You want something done for this club. What's it going to be? Scott, I'm sorry, I'll pick on you first. Right down the line.
What I want the most? I go back to where one of the first people that spoke. When you come to the course, what do you see first? What makes you happy? You know, you go out to get your golf balls and go in, get your tee time. I want people to come here and have a great experience, be happy, and the members. that pay their dues to come out and have that experience like they were coming here as a guest.
Do you like it, Scott? Do you like it?
Delight. That's it.
Good question. I think we're, I'm sitting here listening, and what I think I'm hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the distinction between golf courses that are part of a community and country clubs, private, semi-private, however they're structured. I feel the courses we have here are part of our community, just like the pickleball courts, if you will, or the tennis courts. They're for the recreational enjoyment of the people who live here in our community. They're not designed to be a country club that attracts people from the community as well as surrounding areas. And I think you approach the management and the way the club operates differently when you're differentiating between a country club that's looking more at a profit angle than we are here, at least at this time, with a recreational opportunity for the people who live here. So I think I would like to see us make a decision and stick to it and provide the best possible golf experience for the people who live here, for our residents.
I think if there's one thing it's a tough question there, but for me, as an annual member, I'd like to hear the word transition completely obliterated from the Westbrook Village. I'd like to see two very good playable courses all year round. Now I know we live in an area that has its problems. We live in the desert, but so do the other 80 golf courses around the valley. We have two beautiful golf courses we manage, and I'd like to be able to play on two beautiful courses 12 months of the year. And also, I'd like to be able to invite guests to the lakes. We have one of the most beautiful sceneries at sunset, and I know that we're going through problems there. We're looking into it, but the patio area is designed all wrong, in my opinion. You've got a fountain, you've got the sun going down with nobody to look at it. And it's a shame, really, because it's a beautiful area. That's it.
All right, Scott stole my delighted, and Paul stole my transition from winter rye to summer. You know, if you really think about it, we close the course, we close the courses, we can't play it for 1 week. And when they reopen it, it's just gorgeous. We have to do better at transitioning from that winter rye to Bermuda. But since Paul already said that, I'll take on a different one for you, Herbie. I acknowledge that the separation of our golf course from the HOA is rooted in laws, CCRs, and all of that business. I'm also of the opinion that with effort and some cooperation, we might be able to change that. If we're just going to shrug our shoulders and say, oh, the HOA doesn't want it unless they own it, that's fine. But I'm willing to put the effort in that says, hey, you know, is there a way to do that? If we have to put it to a vote to the residents, well, I'm pretty sure we got about 700 votes in favor, right? All the Westbrook Village Golf Club members would be in favor of $50 a year more on their HOA fee so that we have an opportunity to do these beautiful renovations that Paul was envisioning for the restaurants. So I'm not afraid of the tough ones, Herb. And yeah, I grant that integrating with the HOA could be tough. But if you look at my house, I did get elite wood panels approved for covering. So it can be done. It's a process, but you have to be willing to get in there and fight for it if it's important. Okay, I've talked enough.
If I could do one thing, I think it's to have the board get a lot more people involved that are members in the club that they take part in. I think there's very few people there's a lot of people that'll complain about everything, but there's very few people that'll get involved. Well, how can I help? You're talking about 90-degree rule. I think you have to give marshals teeth out on the course. If they keep running into the same people that keep violating the same things, they ought to be able to say, you know, this is going to sound tough, but you can't play this week. You can't play next month. I mean, until you put teeth to something, you're not going to make any changes. So that's something I would get a lot more people involved, and I would give the marshals more authority to go out there and make a difference. We've been members of different golf course communities, and the marshals came around. They told you, hey, you're a hole behind. You got to catch up or you're off the course. And people had to catch up. Yeah, I mean, so giving some teeth to the marshals out there.
I agree, you answered most of them. You took my speech. I believe what we do really need is more 90-degree rules, which we are not having. We need stricter enforcement. I see people going right down the fairways constantly, and they don't care. I mean, we need someone out there to enforce these rules. I mean, otherwise we're stuck with 4 carts as of now because of COVID. But we can go on maybe 1 day a week cart path. I wouldn't see nothing wrong with that. It would help. So I mean, we need stricter enforcement with our rangers if they can do that, or we can put something together through the board. Thank you.
All right, well, everyone's had some great ideas, and I'm trying to think of something that would be different. And one of the things that I would like to see improved is our practice facilities. I think, you know, the grass gets worn a lot. We have, you know, 700 members, and you know, the tee boxes where we're practicing, you know, it gets really thin. Or if they're at the front of the range, you're warming up on a downhill slope. You know, there's not really a chipping green at the vistas. You know, I know we're landlocked on what we can do, but I would really like to see, you know, and I know they've done some research on practice facilities, but I would like to see them upgraded, have some targets on the range, things like that, that would help the membership.
Well, I'm going to steal a little bit from everybody. I would, if I could wave a magic wand, I would like the members to be more responsible for the club. I would like them to take the ownership that we all have. You know, it's been brought up about the marshals. You know, we need some teeth out here. We need members on a committee that you have to go in front of that committee if you violated the rules of this club. And you got to stand before them and them tell you, you know what? You're not playing for a week or you're not playing for a month. We're not going to fine you. Nobody cares about money. They care about playing because that's why they're members here. And if we could do that, I've seen it at other clubs where members police members. And when you do that, your costs go down. Believe it or not, if this club had to pay for some of the maintenance that the volunteers do, our dues would go up. It was brought up earlier tonight about our dues. If we don't do this, our dues are going to go up. Nobody wants the dues to go up. So if everyone could take responsibility of their club, would be great.
Ditto for everything everybody said, but if I had a dream, my dream would be that all of our members and all of our board were playing on the same team to take care of our courses and ensure that they stay in the great condition they are for the rest of our lives.
I think we got a great opportunity here. Our membership is the best it's ever been. We've got some great ideas on what to do to massage that, change it, maybe not change it, but I've been here almost 5 years now, and I hear very little from our board. I hear a good morning. Our staff is incredible in the pro shop. They're the greatest. I was here 2 weeks and they were calling me by my first name. We want to encourage the staff. We want to encourage the board to be involved. Everybody needs to be involved. I don't remember hearing anything from a board member other than 1 or 2 that I play golf with, and they were anxious to share what they went through day in and day out. We haven't had a board that's been out and about. We haven't had a staff that's able to be out and about. We have to protect our staff, both in the grounds group and in the pro shops. We have to protect our board, and we need everybody to work together. It's got to happen now, because we have an opportunity that we haven't had before. We have the membership to support it, and if we make the right moves and everybody talks and discusses what needs to be done on a daily, weekly basis, we can get this done. We really, truly can. And you will see improvements like you've never seen before. The condition of the golf course is one of my pet peeves. And everybody that plays with me knows that that's my first excuse on why I don't play well. We don't need to be bumping up the ball on a fairway that's been overseeded. That's our first rule when we play on Sundays with the couples, is we're going to bump them up in the fairways. There should be no bumping up. There's ways to take care of this golf course, and we just need to share that. I'm not saying we need to change it. We need to work together. That's my one idea, and then I'll step away. Thank you.
Any other questions from the membership? Going once, going twice. Cathy?
So you're all very courageous to run for the board, and we commend all of you for doing that, for your own fervor and love of the place, whether you're long-timers here or not. Many are. I just wanted to make, I do have a question. I just want to make one comment. Many of us in this room have served on the board, and we had to go through, in our own way, much better now than when we did it, the questions and the ideas and the concepts. A great leader here, Terry Bice is here, but I'm sure I'm not right here, Mr. Vaught and Mrs. Vaught, and right there, sitting there, still on the board. So it's great. So, but here's my deal. I hear what you're saying, all of you, in many of the same regards. And I wish you well, whoever wins, because I can support all of you. But the deal is, in just my opinion, and my question is, I think Brandon and Dave Escobedo and his staff and Brandon's staff, as some of you have said, are underserved and have a lot of knowledge. But I am just afraid that we'll go down this path, as many of us that have been here for a while have gone down. So my only question to you all, whoever gets on the board, is I would like at some point for a report on where the status is of what we did at the lakes when we redid all of the system, the waterway, all of that. Because I'd like to know, but I play with people all the time, and that's what they want to know. That's how come we're doing water to the HOA and the subdivisions and all that. So that would be something I think many of us that aren't even here would like to know.
All that information is available, Cathy. It's in a report. It was 7-8 years ago. It's all documented. You just need to read it. Yes, Steve.
Maybe. Scott, you have been publicly quoted saying you would like to bring in an outside management. What is the advantage of that?
I'm not sure I publicly said that to anybody. What I was doing was I wanted, because we were in such a bind for grass seed, and I knew inflation was not transitory, I wanted to see if Troon possibly we could get in their buying program of 700 courses, only to participate in purchasing commodities, not run any part of the golf course, to see if they could benefit us with the discounts that they receive. There's no way that 2 courses can purchase cheaper than 800. There's no way. That was the reason. But I never stood up publicly. I never brought them. We were vetting them, and I was vetting them with another member because I wanted just to hear their opinions. So when I ran for this board, I could maybe incorporate some of their knowledge. And they brought in an outside agronomist with them and a person that has run golf courses for 40 years. And they said we have two of the most unique courses here. They're very well run. They gave us some very subtle suggestions, but they said they could buy much cheaper than what we're buying for. And they said we have a lot of equipment here and a lot of staff. And that's all I was bringing up, was just to see if we could save the club money, because like there's so many mentioned up here, nobody wants their dues increased. And the way things are going now, you know, it doesn't take long to see how much we're paying. Everybody's paying more. Nobody's paying less. And it's going to hit us soon.
Great questions and great discussion by everyone. We want to move to finalizing this meeting. So we want to talk about member voting. We have three options for member voting. We have what I'm going to call email-enabled voting, and we're going to strongly encourage all of our members to use the electronic voting methodology. We were actually the pilot test, the election committee, yesterday, and I was absolutely amazed with what is coming to us in terms of electronic voting capability. And I got to thank Brandon. It's absolutely superb. So when this, and this is just, you know, a way we can look at ourselves and recognize that we are a first-class facility when we have this type of capability for our membership. So email-enabled voting is one of the options for you. We also are going to offer absentee ballots, and that's going to be offered for anybody that does not have the ability to vote via computer or is not going to be present for a manual ballot at the annual meeting. So the absentee is going to be available. It's going to be available at the office over at the lakes, and members are going to have to go over there, pick them up. They're going to have to cast their votes and then deliver them back again. Paper ballots will be available only one time, and that's at the annual meeting on February 2nd. The process is there's one ballot per membership. This ballot should not cause a divorce. It should be a consensus of a couple. So one vote per membership. You will vote for a minimum of one candidate and a maximum of 4. So what we say in our bylaws, there's no cumulative voting. In other words, you can't vote for one candidate 4 times. So you have 10 choices that you've just listened to tonight, and you have to make some very difficult decisions. Let's talk about our voting timeline. Our voting starts on January 10th, and all this information will be sent out via email. Ways to vote, we just talked about. You can do the electronic version, you can do absentee ballot, or you can do a manual ballot. The deadline, the electronic vote, our deadline is January 31st at 5 p.m. We're going to encourage strongly everybody gets on the system and votes quickly. Well, reminders that go out at least bi-weekly to get your ballots completed. I do want to say one thing about that electronic version that comes out to you. It is only for your membership number. It cannot be forwarded to your buddy. If you do, it won't work. So keep your email, use your email to cast your ballot, and do not pass it along to your buddy. The deadline for our absentee ballots is January 28th, and we're setting that deadline a little bit earlier in the electronic version because we have to go collect all the ballots in the ballot box over at the lakes, and we got to validate every one of those manual ballots. And then the manual ballot, that's only available one date, and that's on the 2nd of February, and that will be by 8 p.m. We will announce the results of this election on February 3rd. This thing is moving on me. Not good. Anyway, that is the end of our evening, and Cindy?
I just have one comment. If you're a couple, you may, and both your emails are in the system, each one of you may get the opportunity to vote. So only, you choose which one of you wants to send your.
It'll only accept one though. So if they log in, they already voted, you just say you already voted.
Yeah, it'll reject you if you try again.
Okay.
The system's smarter than we are.
Well, I just know, yeah, you can test it out.
In other words, if you're married, talk to each other before you do your voting. That would be a sensible thing to do. Anyway, I want to thank all the candidates for all their preparation. And I want to thank all the members that attended tonight. Very, very informative for everyone. So thank you very much.